The Carolina Panthers could have beaten the Atlanta Falcons yesterday in a wild one. They just exchanged scores throughout the second half. It was a heck of a lot of fun. I actually watched that game from Players Retreat on Sunday. I watched the second half from Players Retreat, and it was amusing to hear the Panthers fans just like, yes, oh no, yes, oh no. And DJ Moore catches an incredible throw from PJ Walker with, 16 seconds on the clock. And all Eddie Pinheiro has to do is kick a field goal, except this one was made more difficult because DJ Moore took his helmet off. Can't do that. Now, I know that the Fox rules expert pointed out that because DJ Moore had left the end zone and the play was dead, taking off the helmet really should not have been a flag, but it was. Pinheiro misses the 48-yard kick. You go to overtime. It's 34-34. They go to overtime. Defense steps up because, contrary to popular belief, you can do a defense in overtime to get the ball back and help you win a game. It can happen.
I didn't think that was allowed, Joe.
It is allowed in the NFL to defense in the overtime. So they get it back into field goal range. They settle for a kick 33 yards out. Pinheiro misses that one. Atlanta gets the ball back. They win it with a 41-yard field goal. Now look, credit to DJ Moore, who owned it after the game, saying, hey man, I shouldn't have done that. I was sitting on the bench, et cetera, et cetera. Here's DJ Moore on taking his helmet off.
It was a spectacular play. You know, I had dropped the one beforehand, and I just let it loose. But I got to understand that there's still time on the clock. You can't do that.
You sat on the bench for a while after the game. I'm guessing reflecting. What was going through your mind?
What would happen if I ain't take my helmet off? Like going back to what happened. And, that was about it.
That's DJ Moore on taking his helmet off that made that extra point kick to win it 48 yards out. Here's Steve Wilks, head coach of the Carolina Panthers, on DJ Moore taking his helmet off.
DJ is smart enough to understand that that's something to learn from. Very talented player. Glad he's on our team. But, we're moving forward. That's something that we'll learn from and won't make that same mistake.
So that's Wilks. They both own it. They both recognize it's a mistake. I agree. But you know what else needs to be said? Eddie Pinheiro is an NFL kicker, and he's got to make, the 48-yarder, fine. It's still in a dome. I know you're making a face, Julio, but from 33 yards out, in overtime, in a dome, you got to make that kick, man. There's no excuse for that. None.
The only reason Eddie Pinheiro is still on the team is because before those two misses, he was 10 of 10 on extra points, and he was 12 of 13 on field goal attempts. His only miss was a 41-yarder against the Niners in a game that was a blowout anyway. Mm-hmm. So he had been excellent to that point. But it's a make-or-miss league, man, and you got one job as the kicker, and unfortunately, you need to make when you have the opportunities to make. And the missed extra point, it was almost a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Then the missed field goal, it just can't happen because that is an extra point at that point. 33 yards is an extra point.
You got to make that.
So I'm more curious, though, with the Panthers. You see the improvement in their offensive line. Mm-hmm. You see the improvement in their run game and the usage of D'Onta Foreman. In 5 games with Christian McCaffrey, Foreman touched the ball 12 times in 5 games. Why?
It's coaching.
So now these are the 2 games without McCaffrey. They trade McCaffrey. There's the 2 games without him. 41 carries, 236 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5.7 yards per carry.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. You see DJ Moore, 11 targets yesterday, over 100 yards, catches the big touchdown pass. Mm-hmm. These are the things the Panthers needed to be doing from the jump.
Yeah, and this, again...
And if you're a Panthers fan, you want to be upset at something, is that it's now October 30th, and you're finally unlocking what you should have been doing from the jump, but you didn't because your previous coach wasn't prepared to start the season.
This isn't as simple as... It's a goofy take. I don't mean it seriously, but... Christian McCaffrey gets traded to the San Francisco 49ers, and you're seeing D'Onta Foreman, or before that, Chuba Hubbard, actually be used. DJ Moore has kind of come to life. It wasn't a Christian McCaffrey problem. He was an asset. He was a weapon. And that's
they
why
weren't even using him correctly, though.
There was a reason why people were hyped up to see what Kyle Shanahan was going to do with Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. And I didn't put too much stock in CMC's first game with the 49ers because he literally just got there. I think we saw the value of Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco in their win against the Rams, which now they've swept them and they're in the race for the division. He's the only running back now, one of the only running backs with a TD pass, a rush TD, and a receiving TD in a single game since the 1970 merger. Christian McCaffrey last year, LaDainian Tomlinson back in 2005, and then Walter Payton back in 1979, the year that I was born. But here's the thing about the Panthers' loss. There are some people who are cool with it because it means that they'll move, or they're now in the third spot for the NFL draft. But this simply solidifies something that we always talk about. Fans are looking at the future. They want the hype. They want the hope, and that's what the draft gives you. But as we've been pointing out, and you've been hammering this point, Julia, with this team, they got players. The distance between them being a good team and a bad team is not that great. That's the thing.
Look at the Seahawks last year. The Seahawks rookie class is what's really carrying them right now.
The bummer here is that I wanted Wilkes to keep winning in Carolina, win the division, to put David Tepper in a spot that would be fascinating. Because how could you look at what Wilkes has been able to do with this group that Matt Rule couldn't do squat with, and you gave him all that guaranteed money, and you're going to tell me that Steve Wilkes shouldn't have an opportunity to be the head coach? You want to Bisaccia this one like in the Raiders? How's that working out for the Raiders?
Not great.
Not great. Wilkes might still do enough to win that job if David Tepper isn't so focused on whatever the big name Josh McDaniels guy is you got to go get. Okay? But it's a bummer that they're not winning and they're not ahead of the division. They're not going to win the division because I would have loved to have seen David Tepper in a weird spot where it's like, please justify not hiring Steve Wilkes. But they'll probably get that justification and go off to whatever the new shiny object is in the NFL coaching circles.